The subcompact crossover segment has exploded in the last 3 or 4 years, and every automaker is trying to carve out its own little niche. The Nissan Juke helped pioneer the segment, and we always respected it for being weird and proud of it. But the Juke has sailed off into the sunset, so now it's time for another cute ute to take up the mantle of peculiarity. In my opinion, the new king of quirk is this, the Hyundai Kona. It's Hyundai's first stab at a super small SUV, and it's a good one. Behind its freaky-deaky face lies a veritable cornucopia of quality, whether we're talking about how it drives or how well it's equipped. Let's check it out. Now, the Kona definitely stands out from the crowd, and it doesn't even take all 4 of my eyes to notice why. Aside from the retina-searing lime paint job, the whole shebang is kinda wacky. Take these lights up here, for example. They're just the running lights. The real peepers are located below, and they're ensconced in a rugged-looking gray plastic that extends back to each wheel arch. The whole front end is kinda busy, but I still think it looks pretty cool. Out back, the Kona rocks a floating roof design here on the D-pillar. Beneath that, the lights are split up into 2 once again. We have the brake lights up top and the turn signal and reverse lights below, wrapped in this hardy-looking gray plastic. Now, the lines are kinda all over the place like they are on the front end, but I feel like the rear is just a little less put together. But you don't have to look at it when you're in it. That wacky green paint adds a dash of color to the dashboards, steering wheel, and seats, but otherwise the Kona's interior plays it pretty straight. You've got a floating infotainment screen, plenty of physical buttons and storage cubbies, and enough head and legroom in the back for a 6-foot-tall passenger. But while there's space for people, there is not a ton of space for cargo. At just 19 cubic feet, the Kona's cargo room is the second lowest in its segment, ahead of only the Mazda CX-3. Folding the rear seats down doesn't make matters much better. It still lags behind the Honda HR-V, Kia Soul, and Nissan Rogue Sport. Now, the top 2 trims of Kona ditched the 2-liter inline-4 and replaced it with a turbocharged 1.6-liter. 175 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque might not seem like much, but this thing scoots. It is surprisingly fun to flit about and push through traffic. Its 7-speed dual-clutch gearbox lives largely in the background, calling up shifts smoothly. I wouldn't exactly call this a hot hatch on stilts, but it does pack some very composed handling, although at highway speeds it does require a fair bit of steering effort to stay centered in the lane. That feeling of composure translates to the suspension, too. It does a really good job of eating up most of the bumps and holes that cover, well, just about every road in Michigan. But while the bumps might not creep into the cabin, the noise sure does. There's a fair amount of both wind and tire noise at highway speeds, not all of which can be drowned out by simply turning up the stereo. Now, even though it's quick, it's still pretty efficient. The EPA rates the 1.6-liter all-wheel drive Kona at 26 mpg city and 29 mpg highway. Now, I got a little under that in the city, about 25 mpg, but once I was out at highway speeds, I was getting closer to 30-31 mpg. Not too bad. Now, Hyundai is very egalitarian with its tech, which means even the littlest Kona here gets a decent amount of it, especially in its top Ultimate trim. Standard safety equipment includes automatic braking, forward collision warning, lane keep assist, and rear parking sensors. Now, it's kind of a shame that there's no adaptive cruise control, and in my opinion, the lane keep assist might work a little too hard with the steering wheel to try and stay centered in its lane. The Kona Ultimate also packs a small head-up display that can retract into the dash when it's not in use. I'm a huge fan of the fact that I can see the speed limit, the driver aid status, and blind spot monitoring all at the same time. The only problem with it is it's a little low on the dash, which makes it kind of awkward for taller drivers to look at. Now, as for infotainment, most Konas make do with a 7-inch touchscreen featuring Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Here on the Kona Ultimate, that's upgraded to an 8-incher with standard embedded navigation. I'm a huge fan of Hyundai's infotainment system. The response time is good and the layout is straightforward. And best of all, there's a series of buttons on either side of the touchscreen for jumping to quick menus. It works, and it works well. Hyundai's cars are, by and large, very sensible machines. The 2018 Kona is one of those, but sensibility doesn't automatically mean that it's as boring as a burlap sack of white rice. It's wacky enough to get attention, but it doesn't let that eccentricity impugn on its functionality. As crossovers go, the Kona is a good one. It drives quite nicely, and it'll hold adults in comfort, although the bags in the back might be a little cramped. And like many other Hyundais, it is positively brimming with the sort of tech that'll give drivers a little extra peace of mind. With a starting price of $19,500 and this one topping out a hair under 30 grand, it is pretty affordable for what it offers.